Okay, going straight into dynamic stretches. The whole point of these is to keep your body moving, to get your blood flowing, get your joints, your muscles, everything just moving and grooving, and just really getting them warmed up, prepped and primed for the workout ahead. Remember to keep your static holds, so the ones where you hold it in a position for 5, 10, 15, however many seconds. Keep those for the end of your workout when your body is already all completely warmed up and loose from the workout. Remember to keep it moving and grooving and to hold for no more than maybe 2-3 seconds. Okay, we're going into a warm-up set on barbell hip thrust. So you can see I'm doing full range of motion and up. You want to keep your chin tucked, so you can see I'm always looking forward the whole time. And you want to keep basically your chin, shoulders, chest and hips all in line, letting your hips drop first. And that's where the arching in the back happens, that's where the lower back ache happens, and all of those things, and form is just off. To keep them moving in one. Also, as you can see, my feet is hip width apart, so nothing super wide, also not super narrow. Okay, so going straight into the actual workout now. So it's basically a complex, which means doing the same exercise but having variations within it back to back. So for example, in this one I am going to be doing 8 barbell hip thrusts, so full range of motion, straight into calves glute bridges, which is basically half range of motion, and then straight into body weight single leg glute bridges, 8 on each side, so back to back, and that all counts as one set. Adding in complexes is really nice because it creates a nice new stimulus, keeps the intensity up, and really just gets a really good pump going on, especially if you just want to spice up your workouts, add something different, especially if you're kind of getting bored of straight sets. Don't get me wrong, I still go for straight sets. I do hip thrust twice a week. One is purely for strength, so straight sets working at a range of 6 to 10. And then the other one is like this, so I'm adding in maybe a drop set, a complex, just kind of, a little razzle dazzle just to chase that pump, keep that intensity up, and just add a new fun spiciness to the workout. Okay, so we've done a lot of focus on the shortened position, which was in our barbell hip thrust. Now we are focusing on the lengthened position, which is now into our single leg dumbbell RDLs, turning my torso towards that front leg and then rotating it back up. It's not a major turn, it's just a slight twist. I got this from the Kelly Matthews method, and it's just a really great way of shifting the emphasis a little bit more into that working glute, which is your front leg. So you want to have sort of like a foot and a half distance between your two legs, and really sitting back into that glute and really driving back up, sort of rotating back into a neutral position through that front heel. So this is a really great glute isolation lengthened position exercise. I like to switch between barbell and dumbbell. I find barbell is great for more on the strengthening, and then dumbbells to really isolate the glute. Now we are moving on to a unilateral exercise, so that basically means a single ligament exercise. We've done our compound exercises, so think our barbell hip thrust and our dumbbell RDL, so bigger lifts, things that require more muscles for the movement to be executed. Now we want to focus on a single leg so you can really isolate the glute. So we are going into Smith machine reverse lunges, but slightly different. So usually, I'm sure you've thought of it, a reverse lunge is basically where the back leg goes back and you let it go down and you lunge down. With this one, we aren't letting that back leg come down. The goal is to hinge back into that front working leg, so into that glute, and really drive back up without any assistance whatsoever from that back leg. So all the focus is onto that front working glute by shifting back up through that front heel of that leg. So we're going to keep that back leg completely in the air the entire time. So we're not doing a toe tap, we're not lunging back. That back leg is staying up in the air. So we've done our compound movements, we've done our unilateral movement. Now we are going into our accessory isolation work. We are going into seated hamstring curls. As you can see, I don't sit back. I actually bring myself all the way upright and really hug onto the seat. This just creates a shorter distance between me and the seated pad, and that basically allows me to get a little bit more stretch in my hamstrings, which is always the goal. The more stretch, the better, of course, within reason and keeping that tension. It's a nice little tip if you feel like you're not feeling your hamstring curls as much, on the seated ones in particular. Your shoulders back, brace your core, and really squeeze from between, from the knee joint to really get a nice good squeeze. And then remember to slowly release that stretch, and this way you can get a much more lengthened stretch. Add a little hold at the end for 10 seconds at the end of my reps for each set, and I do these for 3 sets, 12 reps, and then a 10-second hold at the end. Nice glute isolation exercise to finish off this really great glutes and hamstrings workout. We are going in with cable glute abductions. As you saw, I put the notch a little bit higher than putting it right at the bottom. I really recommend doing this because it allows you to get way more stretch, so way more range of motion without having to add a plate. All of these things so that your foot doesn't hit the bottom. You can just get more out of the exercise. Again, I just like adding in all these tweaks, so the same thing that I did with the seated curl, the same thing that I did with the RDLs. All of these little tweaks just make that, you know, standard exercise just that little bit more elevated and just allows you to get just a little bit more out of it. The common mistake I see with glute cable exercises is being lent either to the side, or if we're going to a straight back kickback, it's being lent too far over. So you don't need to be folding yourself pretty much in half or leaning all the way over to get into the exercise. You should merely be tilted or forward leaned about 40 degrees, nothing more than that. You really don't need to be more than that. It's all about in the angling of how you are stretching your leg in, contracting out. As you can see, I have that cable a little bit higher. I allow that glute to stretch all the way in as much as I can, and also bringing my knee up so I can get more stretch underneath my glute. And then as I kick out, I turn my toes slightly outwards, and then as I bring it back in for the stretch, I turn my toes slightly inwards. So this is pretty much just following my muscle fibers, just really getting that deeper stretch and really getting a nice contraction. Remember, if you're feeling lower back pain, it's because you are kicking your leg way too far up. You only need to kick it just about a few inches, or just almost kind of about knee level or just below knee level of the leg that you are resting on. You shouldn't be kicking any higher than that, because then you are going into lower back pain because you are kicking up into your lower back. You only need to get a nice contraction at the top and then control and get that nice good stretch on the way back. Okay, so that is my current glutes and hamstrings exercise. Comment down below if you're going to give this a go, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.